Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today, and we are talking about something pretty cool that CD Projekt Red is doing in hopes that other companies will follow suit with this action. Now, we don't know much on the PlayStation side of things, but if you're invested in the Xbox side of things, I think you'll find this conversation pretty exciting. So as I imagine a lot of you have already heard because there were tons of videos and coverage on it, yesterday Xbox announced a ton of specs for the Xbox Series X, such as 12 teraflops, custom RDNA and Zen 2 processor, variable rate shading, hardware accelerated DirectX ray tracing, custom built SSD, quick resume for multiple games, dynamic latency input, HDMI 2.1, auto low latency mode, variable refresh rate, 120 FPS support. For me, the second set of info I found more relevant in the terms of quicker loading time, having multiple games up or multiple apps up like a suspended YouTube app, plus the game I'm currently playing. While you do have to have specific TVs for it, 120 FPS support is something I can totally get behind. And I think the console power really speaks for itself. But what is most notable in this particular discussion is smart delivery. So I'm going to read the write-up on what smart delivery is through the Xbox website, and then we'll get into how CD Projekt Red is taking advantage of that with Cyberpunk 2077. This technology empowers you to buy a game once and know that whether you're playing it on Xbox One or Xbox Series X, you are getting the right version of that game on whatever Xbox you're playing on. We're making the commitment to use smart delivery on all of our exclusive Xbox Game Studios titles, including Halo Infinite, ensuring you only have to purchase a title once in order to be able to play the best available version for whichever Xbox console they choose to play on. This technology is available for all developers and publishers, and they can choose to use it for titles that will be released on Xbox One first and then come to Xbox Series X later. So what does smart delivery get rid of? Yes, you guessed it, essentially the touched up $60 packages of the same game you bought years ago. Companies are going to have to find a new way to make money. Now, hopefully this does not lead to essentially more microtransactions because companies can't simply re-release games. Sadly, this also sort of crushes my heart a bit on the idea of a Fallout 3/New Vegas re-release happening, because more than likely Bethesda has noted this and has been aware of it, and they're not going to be re-releasing it with trophy support like I had hoped for on the PS4. But with that being said, this is a much more cost-effective option. This is more consumer-friendly, and I can't really argue against it in any way, shape, or form. So how does CD Projekt Red get involved? Well, after this news came out, Cyberpunk 2077's Twitter quoted the tweet and said the following: "Gamers should never be forced to purchase the same game twice or pay for upgrades. Owners of Cyberpunk 2077 for Xbox One," emphasis on Xbox One, like I said, we don't know much about the PlayStation side of things, "will receive the Xbox Series X upgrade for free when available." Now, one thing we do want to keep in mind with this specific deal before we get into the awesome stuff is that there is clearly a deal in place between CD Projekt Red and Xbox. Whenever CD Projekt Red has hit the stage at E3 to market any of its games, whether it was The Witcher 3 or Cyberpunk, it has been on Xbox's stage. And so I imagine timing this announcement with the reveal of everything happening with the Series X could be a money changing hands deal, like, hey, make sure that your very big third-party game has Xbox One Series X support immediately. Where I feel like most companies will take a we'll get to it approach, but this is great for the console transition in general, and I think it's quite honestly the most notable feature worth discussing at this point in the life cycle. Before I get into why that's the case, I just want to talk about the technology aspect. You see, the leaps in technology from console to console is no longer how it was between PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 2 and 2 to 3. When you look at some of the games during the PS2 life cycle, and then you look at the end of the PS3 life cycle, that was simply never possible, and it seemed like things that were just in our imagination that could never happen, but eventually it did. I don't think the leaps are that significant, which is why, for me at least personally, I find stuff like a custom SSD, 120 FPS support, quick resume for multiple games, new features like those, I find the features more exciting. Obviously, the technology will get bigger and better, but I think they're going to be used in more nuanced ways to make games more seamless, more immersive. And while games have managed to achieve that with the previous generation, that can now get a bit better. But I don't think it's going to be the significant leap in the terms of what we've seen with prior generations when much of us were younger. So that leads me to smart delivery, why I think this is the most important feature heading into it. It makes the console transition easier. If you haven't noticed, between the conversations that Xbox and PlayStation have been having about how exclusive titles are going to be handled when these consoles are launched, which is for the most part, nothing is going to be exclusive until about a year and a half in, and now you look at smart delivery, you don't really have to be an early adopter, and I think that's what these companies are anticipating. While Sony has said in the past that they expect it to be a very quick transition, I think a lot of actions that we're seeing, both in the terms of rumors for Sony, but now official action for Microsoft, speaks to otherwise. Because the industry is heading towards buy the game, be a part of the game. We're seeing Xbox put some of their games on the Switch. We're seeing them do Game Pass on the PC. Xbox just wants you to play games, right? So for them, it's beneficial that you buy Cyberpunk 2077, whether it is on the Xbox One or it is for the Series X, because now it's accessible either place. Going back to the Fallout 3 example though, my expectations are in a place where I'm not sitting here thinking that day and date of the Xbox Series X releasing that we're going to see the Xbox Series X upgrade for that respective games. I think the approach to these upgrades are going to be more so along the lines of we'll get there when we get there. One thing worth mentioning though is that the difference in upgrades, for those who are unaware, is mostly going to be visual, frame rate, that type of stuff, maybe NPCs on screen. It's not going to be in the terms of content like if you play it on the Series X, you're going to have more quests. It's not designed to work that way. It's just about having the game run as smooth as possible, which you can sort of implement in a PC sort of way, right? Whether you're a budget build or you're a high-end PC build. If you own Steam, you buy it once, and so long as the game is optimized properly, you could play it on either rig. Also, you have to account for specs, but you get what I'm saying. Essentially, what we're seeing is consoles transition into a space that PC has been in for a while now. I think the next step is really being able to customize what's inside your console, which is why some have speculated that perhaps this is the last console generation for a while. I feel like leaks would have already told us that is indeed the case, but I don't want to rule it out entirely. And when you take a bird's eye view at what CD Projekt Red has been able to accomplish in just this week, it's actually really awesome for the consumer, because obviously we're talking extensively here about Cyberpunk 2077 having a sense of forward compatibility and getting an upgrade for the newest console. But on the other side, we have The Witcher 3, which I just made an entire video about, getting this brand new patch that enables cross-saving between your Switch, which is the portable version of The Witcher 3, and the PC. So you can sit down, game on your PC, get as far as you want in the game, and let's say you got to catch a plane, you got to catch a train, maybe you want to go lay in another room, but you want to take that game with you, you can very much do that. And so what CD Projekt Red is trying to enable is something that I think a lot of developers can do. Games go on sale all the time. People double dip all the time. Why not make it a little more accessible and keep people engaged with the game? Still, what CD Projekt Red here is doing is nothing short of awesome, and I really do hope that other companies take advantage of this and keep ushering in folks to just play the games, because what we're trying to eliminate essentially, I think, is a lot of this console elitist behavior where some people are like, PlayStation's the best, and some are like, Xbox is the best, and it's like, who cares? Who cares? Let's just play games, man. Like, these games are awesome. It doesn't matter where you play. And it seems like Microsoft is adopting that mindset. If they can, I think the consumers of their games can. Now, some may be asking, why does Microsoft want to take this approach of just the games? Why are people encouraged to buy into the Xbox Series X when they're essentially saying, hey, you don't got to, right? Like, you can get the same game forward compatible upgraded, or you can just play it on your Xbox One that you already have. What's the big deal with all of that? Well, for those who aren't aware, there's this program called Xbox All Access, and if PlayStation's smart, they're going to try to make something similar to this. Essentially, instead of buying a $500 console at launch, we'll say, which I think is a good price range that we could all expect safely, you can pay $20 a month for 20 months or something along those lines. Currently, that's an offer available only for the Xbox One X and the Xbox One S, but still, I imagine Microsoft will carry this package into the next generation of consoles. I mean, they already have Game Pass. I think Microsoft really loves the subscription service. They love money over time instead of all the money at once. So this can essentially enable a lot of people to either impulse buy in or just decide to buy in without worrying about dropping so much money and not having the exclusives available right away. Instead of paying $500 and going, I'm getting the same games, you can say I'm paying $20 a month and I'm getting upgraded versions of current games until more exclusives roll out the door. Just my 2 cents, ladies and gentlemen. But I gotta say, I'm pumped for the future of gaming. I'm sure we'll see the same for big launches throughout this year, like Doom Eternal or Final Fantasy VII Remake, Resident Evil 3 Remake. Those are just a couple that come to mind right away that I think we could see a Series X upgrade for. And of course, I imagine that PlayStation 5 will have some sense of forward compatibility. It only makes sense because we saw this similarly handled on something like the PS4 Pro. So it's only a matter of time, but I'll leave it in your hands now, ladies and gentlemen. Discussion over. Let me know what you're thinking about all of this in the comments down below. CD Projekt Red's latest pro-consumer move, as well as Xbox really thinking ahead for you guys. How do you feel about this? I know it's easy to really jump on the Xbox bandwagon because they're the ones who are staying in the headlines. They're really just drip feeding it at a perfect rate, but are you convinced to hop on board yet? Do you need to see more games? I'm more of a game guy. I got to see the games first. For me, tech is great, but let me see what I'm going to be friggin' playing. That's what matters to me. So let me know what you guys are thinking about all of that in the comments down below. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. Big thank you to all of the patrons who continue to support my content here. We got PAX coming up in just a couple of days, and I'm going to be a busy boy, but you guys are going to have some good stuff to watch. I'm telling you, man, it's going to be a good time. Lots of preview coverage coming your way. So let's get into it. I'll talk with all of you guys soon. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.